A few days later, Kunon is summoned to the royal palace to meet the royal sorcerers. He rides there with his father, who is clearly pleased with how things have turned out. Kunon assumes this is because of his father's friendship with the king, but his father explains that the real reason is the Grand Master's personal interest in Kunon's magic. When asked to demonstrate, Kunon forms a ball of water and reshapes it into a black cat, which sits on his lap like a real pet. His father is amazed to find that it doesn't feel like magic or water at all. Kunon explains that he only recently learned to make his creations look solid and change their colors. His father plays with the cat happily for a while, and Kunon jokingly asks whether they should get a real cat for their home. Like a typical dad, his father refuses at once, claiming that cats would make a mess of the house. Soon they enter the capital and are immediately greeted by a silver-haired girl named Raisha, the second princess of the kingdom and Mirika's older sister. Kunon greets her warmly, saying he is fortunate to have such a beautiful woman as his future sister-in-law. Raisha smiles, saying she has heard a lot about Kunon from her younger sister and would love to have a long conversation with him someday. Noticing the cat, she tilts her head and asks whether it needs any special food. But the moment Kunon's father sets the cat down on the ground, Kunon dispels the spell and the cat collapses into a puddle of water. Raisha realizes that Kunon is far more skilled than she had initially thought and offers to escort Kunon to the Black Tower. Kunon's father says he will speak with the king and then head home. He tells Kunon to enjoy himself and promises to arrange a carriage for him to return later. Kunon, meanwhile, plans to visit Mirika afterward and take her out on a nice date. Raisha soon leads Kunon toward the Black Tower. Along the way, she asks whether he is comfortable walking or if he needs any assistance. Kunon assures her that he's perfectly fine, then immediately begins firing off a barrage of questions. They're so advanced, Stephen Hawking-level discussions about magic that Raisha is completely thrown off. She laughs awkwardly and tells him she can't keep up with such deep magical theory. To change the subject, she asks whether he knows how many children the current king has. Kunon admits he has never really thought about it. Raisha explains that the king has 7 princes and 10 princesses. The truly interesting part of the Huglia kingdom is how succession works. Unlike most kingdoms where the throne passes to the eldest son, Huglia follows a meritocratic system. All princes and princesses are evaluated based on their skills, talents, achievements, and devotion to their chosen paths. Raisha adds that she has already relinquished her own right to the throne by choosing to become a mage. Kunon decides to showing her one of his special techniques. He freezes a thin layer of water beneath his shoes, creating a slick sheet of ice that lets him glide forward like he's ice skating. Raisha's eyes light up. She insists on trying it herself, and Kunon quickly casts the spell for her as well. Moments later, the two of them are skating wildly through the palace corridors like a pair of mad lads, laughing as they go. The guards panic and rush after them. Unfortunately for the guards, Raisha and Kunon are much faster on ice and manage to slip away. Their luck doesn't last long, and a knight named Darion spots them turning a corner and immediately gives chase. Kunon asks if they should stop, but Raisha says they can probably outrun him. They are very wrong. Darion catches up in a flash and drags them both outside into the garden, where they receive a well-deserved scolding for their reckless antics. Later, they are escorted to the Black Tower, where Kunon is soon introduced to the Grand Master. The man's presence humbles Kunon. He immediately asks whether Kunon was born with a water crest. Kunon says yes, though he admits that he doesn't really understand much about crests in general. Grand Master explains that there are 7 different types of crests that mages can bear, each corresponding to a magical affinity: fire, water, earth, wind, light, darkness, and foul. Alongside the type, each crest also has a rank measured in stars from 1 to 5, and the crest on Kunon is a 2-star crest. Raisha chimes in, mentioning that she herself is a 2-star wind mage. Right after that, Grandmaster leads them down to the training grounds and tells Kunon that he intends to test him a little to gauge his magical prowess. Kunon feels a flicker of nerves, wondering if this means a royal sorcerer might become his tutor if he passes. Grandmaster calls over an older student, a royal sorcerer in training, and instructs him to demonstrate his water magic. The mage chants, and an array of shimmering droplets forms in the air, arranging themselves into a brilliant, intricate pattern. Turning to Kunon, Grandmaster tells him to conquer the boy's magic with his own. Kunon recalls something Genie once told him. Not only can he create water, but he can also manipulate water that already exists in the environment. Up until now, that had never been a problem. But he has never tried to take control of water created by another mage. He realizes, with a twinge of dread, that Grandmaster has effortlessly devised a test neither he nor Genie ever thought about, and now he has to deal with it on the fly. Swallowing his nerves, Kunon decides to give it a shot and reaches out with his magic, trying to wrest control away from the silver-haired mage. At first, Kunon thinks it might work, but then he hits a wall. The water droplets resist his pull as the silver-haired mage holds them firmly. Grandmaster watches closely, clearly intrigued by what might happen next. But Kunon isn't one to give up so easily. Gritting his teeth, he pours all of his stamina into the attempt, pushing his magic to its limit, and to everyone's surprise, he manages to wrench 2 of the water spheres away from the trained royal sorcerer before Grandmaster signals for the test to stop. Kunon drops to his knees, gasping for breath. The silver-haired mage stares at him in disbelief and admits that he never imagined a mere boy could steal control of even 2 of his constructs. Turning to Grandmaster, he declares that he would gladly take Kunon under his tutelage. Immediately, several other mages begin chiming in, each claiming they would like Kunon as their pupil as well. Grandmaster silences them with a sharp gesture. He says he wants to see what else Kunon can do before making any decisions, and asks him to create something of his own invention. Kunon grins, then shapes a wide, springy platform from water magic, a makeshift trampoline. Without hesitation, the Grandmaster hops onto it and starts bouncing, clearly having the time of his life. The other mages quickly line up, eager to try it themselves and to understand how it works and whether they can recreate it. Grandmaster, however, cuts in and tells Kunon that he would like him to stay the night at the castle so they can observe what else he's capable of. Kunon explains that he already has a date with Mirika and needs to take her out to dinner that evening. Just then, Reisha asks whether he can create other animals with his magic, or even humans. Kunon replies that he can do both and immediately forms a human-shaped water doll in the likeness of his maid, and its movements are stiff and imperfect, but the resemblance is clear. The silver-haired mage asks whether the dolls can do anything more than stand there. Kunon admits that he once tried to make them fly, but it didn't go over well. The doll had looked ridiculous while flailing through the air. That, of course, only makes Grandmaster more curious. He immediately demands a demonstration. Reluctantly, Kunon sends the water doll floating up and down through the air. The sight startles half the people in the training grounds, and panicked shouts echo through the castle corridors. Before long, Captain Darien storms in, and Kunon earns yet another scolding, and once again, everyone is forced to apologize for the disturbance. The sun begins to set, and Grandmaster finally nods in satisfaction. He tells Kunon that he has passed the tests and that he will personally assign him a royal sorcerer to tutor him and help refine his magic. Kunon is overjoyed. He rushes to share the news with his father, but instead of praise, he's scolded for causing trouble twice in a few hours and using his magic irresponsibly. Soon after, his father departs for their mansion, leaving Kunon behind with Reisha. Only then does Kunon realize the time. He remembers his date with Mirika and that he's about to be late for dinner. Reisha tells Kunon that if they don't use magic, he's definitely going to be late to see Mirika. So, they decide to try a little experiment. Kunon creates a large bubble of water, and they sit on it. Reisha uses her wind magic to propel it forward, like a flying carpet from a story. They soar through the night sky and reach the area near Marika's chambers in no time at all. Unfortunately, Reisha forgets to slow her magic gradually and cuts off the wind completely. The water bubble drops out of the air, and the 2 of them crash land in the palace gardens. Waiting for them, of course, is Captain Darien. He angrily scolds them for the 3rd time that day for recklessly using magic and causing trouble in the palace. Meanwhile, Mirika is waiting in her room, dressed for the evening like she's expecting a Prince Charming any second now. The minutes tick by, and her excitement slowly turns into nervous worry, as Kunon still hasn't arrived.